The U.S. Supreme Court came out with a number of opinions today, one of which blocks the creation of the nation's first religious charter school. The court was split 4-4 over whether to allow taxpayer funds to go to St. Isidore of Seville Virtual Charter School in Oklahoma. So it leaves in place a lower court's decision which ruled a taxpayer-funded religious charter school would violate the constitutional clause to keep religion separate from government. Catholic Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself, leaving the 9-member court eventually to be divided evenly. The organization Alliance Defending Freedom, representing the board, issued this statement: the U.S. Supreme Court has been clear that when the government creates programs, it invites groups to participate. It can't single out religious groups for exclusion, and we will continue to work to protect this vital freedom for parents and students. We now turn to Amy Howe, reporter for SCOTUSblog, and thanks for joining us, Amy. As always, we want to get your reaction, first of all, to this U.S. Supreme Court decision today.
It wasn't that much of a surprise. The court seemed divided at oral argument. We don't know how the justices voted. Literally, all that they issued today was a single piece of paper with a single sentence that said the judgment of the Oklahoma Supreme Court is affirmed by an equally divided court, or something along those lines. But it seemed pretty clear that there were a couple of justices, the court's liberal justices in particular, at the oral argument, who were likely to side with the Republican Attorney General, Gentner Drummond, who was opposing the charter school, and that there were a couple of justices, including Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who were likely to side with the charter school. It really seemed likely to me to come down to Chief Justice John Roberts, who asked questions on both sides. But again, we don't know how the justices voted.
Now, we understand that Catholic Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself. Do we know the reasons behind that?
We don't know for certain, and some justices, when they recuse themselves, are not required to explain why they recuse. Some justices, when they recuse themselves, will add a little parentheses, something along the lines of prior judicial service, that they were participated in the case at an earlier iteration before they were a Supreme Court justice, or prior government service for Justice Elena Kagan, who was the Solicitor General of the United States. Notre Dame, the Notre Dame Religious Liberty Clinic, represented this charter school in this case, and Justice Barrett, before she was a justice and before she was a federal judge, taught at Notre Dame's law school for 15 years. She's also a very close friend of a law professor at Notre Dame named Nicole Garnett, who's been one of the leading advocates and leading scholars on the issue of providing public funds for private religious schools. So that may be involved as well, but again, we don't know.
This case is so interesting. How does it compare with similar cases the justices recently ruled on?
So the charter school, much along the lines of the statement by the Alliance for Defending Freedom, was really trying to say that it was just sort of the fourth in a line of cases. In the last 8 years, the justices have issued 3 cases in which they have sided with parents and religious institutions that against the states on the issue of whether or not states can exclude religious institutions and parents from these state-run programs that provide public funds for their programs like playground resurfacing. There was a case out of Montana involving tax credits for scholarship programs, and then there was a case in Maine involving the use of public funds for tuition. And the argument that the charter school made was that this is sort of one just like that you can't, if you're providing public funds for private use, you can't exclude religious charter schools, that this is in fact discrimination. And that argument didn't get 5 justices this time around, but the question could clearly come back to the Supreme Court in another case in which Justice Barrett might not be recused.
Amy, thank you so much. We always appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.